Welcome back to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Targeted Individual Experience. So I'm doing this video, you know me already. Like whenever they start attacking me like they do, I get emboldened. Not emboldened to in the way that they get emboldened, which is to cause psychological harm and to engage in, covert warfare and covert psychological warfare. But emboldened in terms of exposing what it is that the New York Predator Department, the white racist predator officers, the Sambos, and the Sambinas, right, who tend to forget that they're black people, right, that will engage in the same white supremacist tactics and methods when it comes to dealing with the people that look like them in the community, right? Because somehow they think that uniform is going to save their ass and give them a false sense of power, which can and will be taken away from them. Okay. This video here is for my Muslim brothers and sisters who are aware, who are conscious of what's going on, who don't forget what the NYPD has did to their communities and community members, did to their religious place of worship, and to understand how a community of people who have been victimized by white supremacy, particularly those within law enforcement within the U.S. government, who now are used as spies and surveillance shells and agents to do the same thing to other people. All right. So I want you to, when I talk about psychology, it's important that we all understand psychology, particularly the psychology of those in position of authority, particularly the psychology of white supremacy and white supremacists, their mindset and who they are. All right. So this is from the Princeton Legal Journal, Civil Rights, Constitutional Law, National Security, Privacy Law. Electronic surveillance, the Fourth Amendment, and the New York Predator Department Muslim surveillance program, Annie Akbar. Now, I'm not going to read this because I don't quote Thomas Jefferson. As a black person, as a black man, when I hear black people talking about Thomas Jefferson as if he is he's pillar of what a human being should be to us, right? And I can understand why white people love Thomas Jefferson. But again, I always say white supremacy will have, and white supremacists will have black people worshiping and praising those that have created, that have caused and have done mass genocide, killing, enslavement, abuse, sexual abuse, some of the most horrible crimes to black people. And yet we hold these people up as, pillars of the past, pillars in our community. These are the things that they do to us. So Thomas Jefferson, you will never hear me quoting Thomas Jefferson. I will not post about Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson to me was a despicable person who literally kidnapped a child that he repeatedly raped over and over and over, producing kids with her that he also enslaved, his own seed. But because they were black, he kept them enslaved. Okay? So no, I will not be worshiping your Thomas Jefferson. I will not be quoting your criminal, your insane, criminal-minded person, even though he might be eloquent with his words. But he saw black people as less than human beings. And as a matter of fact, I always talk about, he wrote some columns about, the people of the world. And he in his writing, he let you know, right, that who the dark people of Europe are. Right? You can go to the Library of Congress. I forgot the name of the document. right? But clearly in Europe, you had black people, So what did the white people do? The white supremacists expel them and hide the truth, right? But anyway, it's not about that. Let's talk about this right here. So in this, so I'll read from here. In Hassan versus City of New York, 2015, the United States Court of Appeal and the Third Circuit Court held that under the First and 14th Amendment, the New York City Predator Department Muslim surveillance program, in which electronic surveillance was used to infiltrate and monitor Muslim life in and around New York City, was unlawful. While this decision undoubtedly found legitimacy in the aforementioned amendment, I contend that applying a modern interpretation of the Fourth Amendment, one rooted in living constitutionalism, or the idea that constitutional law can and should evolve in response to changing circumstances and values, can also prove the program illegality. Right? In Hassan versus City of New York, lead plaintiff Saeed Farah Hassan and others associated with Islam testified that since January 2002, the New York City Police Department, New York City Predator Department, used what was informally known as the Muslim Surveillance Program. Now, they've been at the Black Surveillance Program, but here's the thing: at least the Muslim community got reparations. They sued, and New York City settled. All right. So again, we see other groups in which predator law enforcement in this country where they violate their rights, and they sue, get a settlement. But when it comes to black people, what do they say? Black people never stick together. Why? Because of our conditioned mindset. Okay. So, they said what was formerly known as the Muslim Surveillance Program, also called the program, to monitor the lives of Muslims and their business, mosque, organization, and schools in New York City and neighboring cities and states. The Court of Appeal found that the plaintiff, persons associated with Islam who claimed to be targets of police surveillance program, had standing to sue in federal court to vindicate their religious liberty and equal protection rights, and that their claim were justified under the First and 14th Amendment. It is clear why the program, which targeted Muslim American communities in New York, New Jersey, and beyond, would violate the First and 14th Amendment. However, employing the 14th Amendment to assess the program sprawling in secretive human mapping and suspicionless surveillance program may provide an additional legal foundation for the decision. Now, I'm not going to read all this, but again, the reason why I'm doing this is to bring back that memory which has been erased out of the minds of Muslims in New York. Okay? And there's ways in which they do it in terms of erasing their memory. All right, let's get to the next article. All right, and this is from the ACLU. Now, when the New York Predator Department was ruled against in terms of their surveillance, illegal surveillance and criminal surveillance program, and there was a court order and court rules, what did the New York Predator Department do? They ignored it. So from the ACLU, the New York Predator Department ignored court-imposed rule while spying on Muslim Americans. Okay? And they're still doing it. Muslims in New York, all over this nation, don't think that they're not still spying on you guys. They just have a better way of doing it. Now they are paying the people in your community and the people who own businesses in other communities, particularly in the black community, they are being paid because, you know what? They're being told that we will offer you protection. Protection from what? Black people don't go around assaulting Muslims. That's white people. That's the New York Predator Department, particularly the white racist predators on the New York Predator Department. Okay? So this is why you see last night, and I remember, that the dude, the Arab guy across the store, participating in the psychological harassment, and I went over just to put his face on camera so the world can see these pieces of garbage. He's a piece of garbage, right? That he would engage in those tactics knowing what the New York Police Department have done to his family, to probably him when he was younger, right? So these guys need to be exposed. Yeah. All right. So my daughter just came over here and just stared at me, and he hit a car horn. Right. That is silent sound, manipulating her to come and do exactly that, so they can use their sirens. Right. These are the sort of coercive threats, and this video will be uploaded. All right. So the New York City Police Department repeatedly violated important court-imposed safeguard when it secretly investigated Muslim Americans for years, according to a new report released this week by the police-owned watchdog. The report, issued by the Office of the Inspector General for the NY Police Department, examined the department compliance with the Handshoe guideline, which protects New Yorkers' lawful political and religious activities from unwarranted surveillance, and are incorporated into the New York Police Department Patrol Guide. The investigation focused on a sample of cases closed between 2010 and 2015 that largely involve American Muslims. The report found that the New York Police Department failed to follow important safeguards in place to protect people's rights and the integrity of police investigations. In perhaps the most damning finding, the Inspector General said that in more than half the cases reviewed, both New York Police Department investigators and the use of informants and undercover predator officers continue after approval expired. In some cases, the Inspector General found the department failed to document any actual reason for extending investigation into which there was no reasonable indication of wrongdoing. This is just more proof that the New York Police Department's surveillance of American Muslims was highly irregular and disturbing. It's more than disturbing. But as for me, as a black man, and I can tell you this, that what they did to the Muslim community, they have done far worse to the black community. So, like I said, it pains me to see the Negropeans engage in this sort of behavior, being manipulated, being used, right? Because what they don't realize is that the experiment is also on them, to see how they can be manipulated, how they can be weaponized to attack the leaders that they can't recognize in their own community. How we are being weaponized against each other to continue to keep us at the bottom. The crab in the barrel mindset is not a mindset that black people just happen to have. It is a program conditioned into our minds. And we must understand that. Okay? I got another article. Hold on. All right. This is for the Center for Constitutional Rights. Settlement reached in New York Police Department Muslim surveillance lawsuit. Now let me ask the question, as a black man, to now, and as a TI, right? So this is two parts to this question here, right? Is one for the black community. Has anyone, any so-called leader in the black community, the churches, what have you, ever sued the New York Police Department as a group? Right? Like, these churches will come together. They see what's going on in our community with the New York Police Department. They see the illegal surveillance, the illegal stop and frisk, and such, has gotten together and sued. All right? Now, as TIs, we know that we are being surveilled in some of the most worst and gross ways you can imagine. Violation of our privacy, where we have no privacy. No privacy in our mind, no privacy in our home. No, it doesn't matter. No privacy at all. Right? And what they do to us is to divide us. Right? So my question is for TIs. When are we going to stop with the religious mumbo jumbo about demons and all of this nonsense? Instead of coming together, getting a lawyer, which we actually tried at one point, and that lawyer was crooked. He was paid off to steal target individuals' money. But when are we going to get together, find and do our research and hire a lawyer, right? And give that lawyer all the proof and evidence that they need, or lawyers they need, without going into this religious mumbo jumbo nonsense. I should say mumbo jumbo, because that's the word I was trying to remember. Look, I'm saying it right now. Quick side note. So mumbo jumbo is the word that it's an African word that means a person who is a healer, right? A person who's like a therapist, a healer. Not really like a doctor, but a person that you will go to when you have difficulties. It's kind of like therapists, right? So that's an African thing. So, and again, more proof that African people created this whole therapy thing because that's what we used to do. So a mumbo jumbo is a person who you will go to help if you have any kind of issues. They will talk to you. They will try to help you with such and such, right? And the British took that, like I talk about how they take African words that are positive and affirmative, and they change it, right, and give it a negative meaning, a negative connotation. Okay, so that's the enemy. But when are we going to stop talking foolishness about spiritual warfare and demons and all this nonsense? Because the law is not going to take us seriously. You need to put your religious belief aside. You need to get the knowledge in terms of the technology, the psychological methods and tactics, and if you are documenting what it is that's being done to you, that you use proper terminology. Proper terminology meaning that using legal terminology, right, in which a court of law recognizes. So when we use these words, the court of law recognizes these words. Okay? So when I talk about psychological manipulation, coercive warfare, cognitive warfare, right? When I talk about psychological programming, operant conditioning, the use of reward and punishment, right? Classical conditioning, right? How to condition the mind of a person to where you introduce certain stimuli, right? So the action will create a subconscious reaction within your mind. Like I said, you got to go learn about Pavlov's dog, right? Learn about, B.F. Skinner, operant conditioning. Learn about dark NLP, dark neurolinguistic programming, dark psychology. There are many videos and books that you can download for free. Go to the Internet Archive. You can get those. Learn those terminology. Learn the law. When it comes to, the part that in terms of your rights being violated, learn the law. Look up cases in which those cases that deal with, the invasion of privacy, conspiracy, right? Conspiracy against rights, holding police accountable, deprivation of rights under the color of law. Those are the type of things that you need to have in your vocabulary and understand. All right? So when we are serious, and again, it's a very difficult thing, but it's not, but we can do it. We can do it. All right? Anyhow, let's get back to this now. So the Muslims sued. They sued. Right? Now, for black people, your churches ain't doing shit for you. Except to make you feel good while you put money in their pocket. You go to church, you dress up, you feel nice. They read scriptures that they don't even quite understand, that they don't even know. They don't understand these scriptures because they're not teaching you the esoteric meaning of them. What they're teaching you is the dumbed down, simple version of what Rome, the Roman Catholic Church, that they've created. There are other scriptures out there. Go and read them. Matter of fact, go and read the Ethiopian Bible, the English translation, because that Bible is older than your Christian Bible. All right, that Bible is older than your Christian Bible. Go and read the Greek Septuagint with the English translation, with there's no letter J in it. All right, and underneath each page, under each page, in the bottom of each page, they give you the meaning of certain words in its original context. All right, that's what y'all need to do, because y'all claim to be good Christians. Y'all are not good Christians. Y'all are delusional Christians, masquerading as good people, but you're not good people. And anybody who is good and who wants to be good and try to be good, y'all fight against them. Y'all destroy them because y'all not good. So the fact that you're fighting against people who are doing good, y'all not good. Right? But you love people who are selfish, egotistical, who have money. The very same thing that Jesus talked about. You read the Bible, Jesus says, a rich man has a chance of getting to heaven like a thread going through the needle, the eye of a needle. But yet your pastors is rolling in dough, right? While your ass is struggling. Stop being a bunch of dumbasses, right? And make sure that your church that you go to, that money, that church is being held accountable. That it doesn't just go into the pockets of the pastor and the other members of the churches. Okay? That they take that money, they can invest that money, in the community, and then they won't have to ask you for donations. If they do what the Hasidic Jews do, they wouldn't need to ask you for money. Okay? They wouldn't need to ask you for money, but they keep asking you for money because they're conditioned to take money from you and use it for themselves. And every single year you see them giving out these cheap bags for school, what have you. Those bags won't even last those kids a month. Okay? But your pastor can go buy a $60,000 car. Right? Your pastor, he can buy a house and have his family in it, but you renting an apartment. Your landlord is having you in a crappy apartment, won't fix it, none of that stuff, right? And instead of these churches saying, you know what, let's form a conglomerate, let's take that money we get, let's invest in buying up these buildings, fixing them up, creating affordable housing, let's invest in people who want to start a business, right? But that's not what they do. That is not what they do. But guess what? That's what other groups of people do. Right? Like I said, I don't just say this to say this. Go and do the research. Go look it up. Right? So the fact that these churches are the ones that should be, because if they want to be the pillar of the community, their leaders within the churches get together, get lawyers, sue the New York Predator Department. Sue the state for the condition that it has its people in. Sue these landlords. If they want to talk about being good and doing good, them motherfuckers don't do any good. They just talk as if they're doing good. They're fooling you. They're manipulating you. And you need to understand this. Because any other group of people have sued, they have reached settlements, they have done what they need to do for their people. All right. So anyhow, New Jersey Muslim reached landmark settlements requiring New York Predator Department to end unlawful spying activities. New York today, a group of Muslim-owned businesses, mosques, individuals, and students group has finalized a settlement agreement with the New York Predator Department, the NYPD, NY Predator Department, in Hassan versus City of New York, a federal lawsuit challenging the suspicionless, discriminatory surveillance of American Muslim in New Jersey. Now, if the Muslims can get tired of it to the point where they're fighting back by suing the NYPD, yet our children continue to be harassed, our children continue to be manipulated, and we do nothing. But they can get you mofo's to engage in psychological operation, covert warfare, illegal drugging, and all this shit against someone that these racists have manipulated, have engaged in crimes against, and try to silence for the crimes that they've committed. But because they understand you are a religious people, you are a people who only wants to believe, is the reason why you won't do shit, because it is now within your DNA. You have been bred to be passive. You have been bred to be silent. You have been bred to accept the mistreatment. You have been bred to accept the mistreatment of your children. You yourself have been weaponized to mistreat your children and each other. Okay? Hassan was the first lawsuit brought on behalf of American Muslim unlawful surveillance under the NYPD's program, the Appellate Department's program. The plaintiffs are represented by Muslim Advocates, the Center for Constitutional Rights, and Gibson PC. As a series of Pulitzer Prize-winning reports by the AP reveal, under the surveillance program, the New York Appellate Department spied on at least 20 mosques, 14 restaurants, 11 retail stores, 2 grade schools, and 2 Muslim Students Association in New Jersey. The monitoring includes video surveillance, photographing, license plates, community mapping, and infiltration by undercover predator officers and their paid predator informants at places of worship, Students Association, and businesses. Internal New York Appellate Department documents, including a list of 28 ancestries of interest, revealed that the New York Appellate Department used racial and ethnic backgrounds as proxies to identify and target adherents to Islam. By its own admission, the New York Appellate Department's surveillance of Muslims failed to produce a single lead. We are proud that we have stood up to the most powerful police force in the country and against the suspicion and ignorance that guided discriminatory practices, says Fahad Hassan, lead plaintiff in the case. We believe the legal ruling and settlement in this case will endure as part of a broader effort to hold this country to account for its stated commitment and its obligation to uphold religious liberty and equality. All right? I just want to read that because, it's, like I said, when the Honorable... All right. So, like I said, they can not only understand the gravity and the seriousness of the criminal conduct by those within the New York Appellate Department and their commanding officers and what it is that they have done to their community, to their children, to their businesses, to their people. But yet, Nigerians, knowing all of this, right, won't go down to these precincts as a group and says, we are tired of you stopping our children on the street and abusing them. We are tired of you coming around like a bunch of gangs, jumping out of your car, scaring our children, and when they get scared and they run away, you deem that as being suspicious and you chase them down and abuse them. We are tired of you using your vehicles as weapons to engage in corralling up black teenagers, right? No, because we have accepted the ill treatment, the mistreatment, and then you're trying to silence those of us who is trying to tell you that what they have been engaging in is even worse. And you Nigerians, though, are the bane in black people's existence. Because there's too much of y'all. And y'all are docile, passive against this white supremacist system, against these predator police officers. But when it comes to your own, when it comes to each other, right, you look at each other with disdain. You help the very same white supremacist, racist pigs target your very own. Why? Because we don't believe in your religion. Why? Because I wear an ankh on my neck. And lately they've been, again, engaging in the stirring campaign of my ankh. Right? But my ankh will never come off my neck. As long as I'm alive, it's going to stay on it with the eye of Haru. All right? You will not see a cross around my neck. Right? Mom, I am not a dead person in terms of in mind. I am a person who thinks, not a person who believes. I'm a person who wakes up every morning, who makes a conscious decision that despite of all that's being done to me, right, that I am active in my children's lives. No matter how much they use their mother, that I still help her out. Okay? But I will not let her take advantage of me. Y'all are not good people. The Negropeans, the ones who engage in any sort of behavior. Y'all are not good people, so don't fool yourself into thinking that you're good people. You're criminals. You're criminals. And there's statutes and law that proves that you're criminals based on your action. Conspiracy against rights. Whenever you conspire against an individual or group of people, you're a criminal. Whenever you engage in covert warfare, illegal drugging, poisoning, you're a criminal. So don't think because the criminals in predator law enforcement who are your cult leaders have your back, because they're criminals too. Understand that. Y'all are no better than the criminals that y'all want to look down on or y'all want to talk about. And y'all seem to forget that every year, right, there are hundreds of black men who are being released from prison because of crimes they didn't commit. But y'all Negropeans ain't mad at that either, right? Y'all Negropeans ain't mad at that either. Y'all can watch videos where police will tell a black man who didn't commit a crime, a predator police officer will tell a black man who didn't commit, we know you didn't commit the crime, but we're going to charge you with it anyway and get convicted. And y'all Negropeans are not mad. Y'all don't hold the police accountable. Y'all don't hold these prosecutors accountable. But y'all hold each other accountable and tell each other or hold yourself accountable for the shit that is being done to you that you don't even want to admit by external forces. Because you're all so damn brainwashed and so dumbed down. Wake up, open your eyes, open your mind. Hold these churches accountable. Hold these pastors accountable. Hold the predator police department and its predator officers accountable. Right? And then you go look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you a good person? Not a nice person, not a believing person, but are you a good person? Do you wake up every morning saying that, I'm not going to be silent about the injustices being done to my people? I'm not going to have the selfish mindset that as long as I get my little slice of the pie, I don't care about nobody else. Look in the mirror and ask yourself that question. All right? And stop fooling yourself. Stop being self-deluded. Stop deceiving yourself into believing you're good people, because you're not. All right? Talk to you guys in the next video. Oh, out of it. Also, my Muslim brothers and sisters, the ones who don't engage in this sort of tactics, always remember what they've done to you and your people. And as black people, we should always remember what was done to us. They may want us to forget, but never forget. Because I'll tell you what, they don't forget. They do not forget. So why should you and I forget the crimes that they continue to do to us and our children? All right? Because they don't want to change. They want you and I to change, to accept more ill treatment, more criminal behavior from them against us. Right? Everybody wants the other person to change, but they don't want to change themselves. Think about that. Talk to you guys in the next video.